Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a highly specific but honestly universally critical topic for absolutely anyone who owns or manages a property. Today, we're unpacking Hounslow boiler installation and replacement services. Now, I know what you're thinking. The geography of this specific source material is super localized to Hounslow, right? But the underlying themes we're looking at today, the hidden risks of property maintenance, keeping residents comfortable, and those sudden cascading crises that can just blindside any building, those are incredibly relatable no matter where you live. I'm genuinely fascinated by how this source breaks down the exact life cycle of a heating crisis. Because by the end of this explainer, you're going to have a perfectly clear understanding of exactly what's at stake when your heating system fails and precisely how the source suggests navigating a way out of it. Let's dive in. So if you're a landlord, a property manager, or a homeowner, you've probably typed a question very much like this into a search engine. And let's be real, you were probably doing it in a moment of absolute panic. It's such a direct, urgent query, and our source material starts right at this point of immediate need. You know the scenario. Winter is creeping in, the temperature is dropping fast, or worse, your current system has just completely given up the ghost. If you've ever managed a property, you know exactly the kind of anxiety this frantic search represents. You need a fix, you need it fast, and suddenly, boom, you're thrust into a crowded marketplace where you have to make a major technical decision under immense pressure. So the crucial point is captured perfectly right here in this direct quote from the text. An unreliable boiler can quickly become a serious problem. Notice the words quickly and serious. They really stand out. A boiler doesn't just, slowly fade away without any consequences. It breaks and the fallout is immediate. For property managers, a boiler isn't just a metal box hidden in a cupboard somewhere. It is literally the beating heart of the property's habitability. When it gets unreliable, the text argues that it stops being just a minor maintenance hiccup and instantly transforms into a high-stakes, serious problem demanding your absolute attention. It's that sheer speed of escalation that the source really wants to hammer home before we even talk about solutions.
And here's exactly what that serious problem looks like in real time. It's a frantic, cascading domino effect. First up, no heating. The property immediately gets uncomfortably cold, which is a massive issue during the winter. Second, no hot water. Suddenly, the most basic daily routines, showering, cleaning, doing the dishes, are completely disrupted. Third, tenant complaints. If you're managing a rental, your phone is now ringing off the hook with unhappy residents demanding answers right this second. And fourth, emergency repairs. You're forced into a frantic scramble to find anyone who's available, often paying heavily inflated emergency rates just to stop the bleeding. It is a rapid downward spiral from everyday comfort to a total logistical nightmare.
Stress and delay. Honestly, let those words sink in for a second. This is the heavy emotional and logistical toll of everything we just talked about. According to the text, this is the ultimate unavoidable consequence of letting a heating crisis escalate. Think about the sheer stress of dealing with angry tenants, compounded by the inevitable delay in finding replacement parts or a qualified engineer who isn't booked solid. It eats up your time, it completely drains your energy, and it severely impacts the safety of the people living there. The source material paints this as the exact scenario every responsible owner wants to avoid, which really sets the stage for why being proactive is absolutely vital. Okay, so how do we avoid that stress and delay entirely? Well, the text gives us a super clear, analytical checklist to evaluate your setup before disaster strikes. Here are the 3 critical signs for replacement. Number 1, your boiler is simply old. Everything has a lifespan, and older models are basically ticking clocks. Number 2, it's inefficient. An inefficient boiler is quietly burning a hole in your wallet, costing you way more in energy bills than a modern optimized system ever would. And number 3, it's no longer worth repairing. This is that financial tipping point where the constant, ongoing maintenance costs finally outweigh the price of just getting a brand new installation. It's definitely worth taking a second to honestly evaluate your own property's heating system against these criteria. And right here is where the source material introduces its definitive solution, Landlord Property Certificates. In the narrative of this text, we're officially moving away from the chaos, the freezing properties, and those frantic phone calls, and stepping into the proposed relief. The source positions this organization as the professional intervention you need to halt that crazy domino effect we saw earlier. Instead of scrambling for expensive emergency fixes, they are presented as the organized, reliable answer to managing boiler installations. It's a really interesting pivot in the material, shifting the tone from the severe risks of property management directly over to a structured commercial remedy. What's really interesting here is exactly who this solution actually caters to. The source notes that Landlord Property Certificates helps customers arrange professional installation specifically for 2 groups, residential properties and rental properties. That's a crucial distinction. It means they claim to be fully equipped to handle the personal, highly customized needs of individual homeowners looking for long-term comfort, while also having the scale and regulatory know-how required by landlords who need compliant, rock-solid solutions for their tenants. They're basically addressing both sides of the housing coin, offering a service that bridges the gap between private homeownership and commercial property management. From there, the scope widens significantly. The text highlights them as your trusted choice for London property services. So, while our focus up to this point has been super dialed into Hounslow, the source uses this to cement their broader regional expertise. They're aiming to build massive trust by presenting the company not just as a local quick-fix guy in a van, but as an established, go-to choice across the much wider London property landscape. According to the source, knowing your installer has this level of overarching regional credibility is supposed to provide incredible peace of mind when you're making a massive property investment, like a brand new heating system. Which brings us to a very provocative, direct question posed by the source. Will you wait for the next emergency or book your boiler installation today? We've traced this entire journey together, from the initial unreliability of an aging system through the agonizing steps of a total breakdown straight into the ultimate stress and delay that follows. We've looked at the warning signs and the professional solution presented by Landlord Property Certificates. The source material leaves its audience with this powerful call to action, forcing a real choice between the very real risks of doing nothing and securing preventative peace of mind. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this breakdown has empowered you to think critically about your own property's maintenance strategy moving forward.